All right, everyone, get ready. Because today we're diving into a topic that every dog owner knows, and let's be honest, kind of dreads. Dog vomit.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely one of those fun parts of having a dog.
Yeah, fun might be pushing it. But, our listeners have had some questions about their own furry friends, and we want to make sure everyone is totally prepared to handle those messy moments.
Absolutely. And, understanding why our dogs throw up can actually be super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always a dire emergency, but knowing the difference, well, that can save everyone a lot of stress, right?
Seriously, I remember this one time, my dog, Pepper, she's a real character, by the way, she ate a sock. Can you even imagine the panic?
Oh, I can only imagine. I'm already cringing for you.
Turns out she was totally fine, just a little backed up maybe. But still, if I knew then what I know now, I could have saved myself a whole lot of worry. But where do we even begin? Our sources list like a million reasons why a dog might vomit.
You're not wrong. It's a pretty extensive list. But we can totally break it down, make it manageable. Well, let's see. Why don't we start with infections? Those are biggies, especially for puppies. You mentioned your pup is young, right?
Oh yeah, she's only 6 months old. A total spitfire, gets into everything.
Okay, so infections are definitely something to keep in mind, especially with a playful pup like yours. We're talking things like parvovirus, which is super serious, especially for younger dogs, and distemper, and then there's the ever-so-catch-all gastroenteritis, basically the stomach flu for dogs.
So those are the big ones then, infections, especially for a little one. Okay, what else should we be thinking about?
Well, just like us humans, dogs can have dietary issues. Sometimes they just eat something that doesn't agree with them. The classic, did that really just disappear off the counter scenario.
Oh, tell me about it. Pepper's a master of disappearing snacks.
Right. Or maybe it's a food allergy, an intolerance of some kind. Pancreatitis is another one to watch out for. And it's often triggered by too much rich, fatty food,
Uh-oh. This is where my weakness for giving Pepper table scraps might be backfiring.
Hey, we've all been there. Those puppy dog eyes are tough to resist. But on a more serious note, obstructions are another really common reason why we see dogs vomiting.
Obstructions like actually blocking things.
Exactly. Think foreign objects, things they shouldn't swallow. Remember how you mentioned Pepper and the whole sock incident? Toys, bones, anything they can get their mouth on, really. It can cause some serious havoc in their digestive system.
Oh, trust me, I've learned that lesson. Thankfully, haven't had a repeat of the sock situation.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to spice up laundry day. And then, of course, there's the one we all dread, bloat. Gastric dilatation volvulus, to be precise. Basically the stomach twists, and that's real emergency.
Wow, bloat sounds absolutely terrifying. So we've got infections, we've got dietary problems and obstructions. What else is on this list of vomit inducers? It feels like we've covered everything.
Well, we don't want to overlook chronic conditions, though vomiting is usually just one symptom among many if there's a long-term illness involved.
Okay, makes sense.
So with chronic conditions, we're talking about things like inflammatory bowel disease or liver or kidney disease, even Addison's disease, which is a hormonal condition. And unfortunately, even cancer can be on the list.
It's really incredible how many things can cause an upset stomach for our furry friends. So are we talking parasites? Because those are definitely not fun either.
You're exactly right. Parasites are definitely on the list too. Plus heat stroke, motion sickness, reactions to medications, and, believe it or not, even plain old stress and anxiety. It's amazing, really, all the things that can cause a pup to lose their lunch, so to speak.
So basically what you're saying is vomiting is basically a rite of passage for dog owners, especially with a curious puppy like mine.
You could say that, but how do you tell the difference between Pepper ate too much cat food, vomit, and we need to see the vet like yesterday vomit?
So we've talked about a bunch of reasons why dogs might throw up. But how do we actually know when to worry? I mean, Pepper's a dog. A little vomit here or there feels almost inevitable at this point.
Oh, for sure. It kind of comes with the territory, right?
Right.
But you're totally right. Knowing the difference between a nothing to see here, upchuck, and a we got to get to the vet like now situation, well, that's key.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we become experts at deciphering these, canine digestive dramas?
Well, for starters, remember that vomiting often has a whole pre-show. It's not always just, boom, vomit on the rug.
Oh, tell me about it.
You might see your dog retching, gagging, maybe even drooling or licking their lips a lot, kind of excessively.
Oh my gosh, yes. I know that look. It's like the whole I'm about to ruin your day stance. Pepper gets this hunched over look, and I'm like, oh, she's going to sneeze. But then it's, out the other end.
Exactly. And while those signs by themselves aren't necessarily a reason to panic, They're definitely clues that something is up.
Okay, so watching for those pre-vomit cues, got it. But when do we really need to hit the panic button? What are the big flashing red flags?
All right, let's talk about those call a vet right now signs. Remember how we talked about your dog eating that sock?
Huh.
Imagine if instead of the sock making a reappearance, there was blood in the vomit.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that, my friend, that's a major red flag. Vets call it hematemesis, basically, a fancy word for vomiting blood. But trust me, you don't want to see it.
Okay, so hematemesis is officially on my list of absolutely call a vet situations. What else? What else should we be freaking out about?
Another big one is unproductive retching. Like, imagine Pepper's hunched over, making those awful noises, but nothing's coming up.
Oh, yeah?
They can be a sign of bloat, which we talked about earlier, and that requires immediate attention. It's like their system is blocked, and that's never a good thing.
Got it. So unproductive retching, also very bad.
Right. And, of course, you always want to pay attention to any other symptoms that are happening along with the vomiting. Is your dog lethargic?
Yeah.
Are their gums dry? Or do they seem dehydrated? Do their gums look pale? These are all signs that something more serious is going on, and you need to get your dog to the vet ASAP.
So it's not just about the vomit itself, it's the whole picture, how they're acting overall.
You got it. It's about being a detective for your dog. And speaking of detective work, even the vomit itself can offer some clues. For example, yellow or green vomit usually means bile is present, which can indicate an empty stomach or some gastrointestinal irritation.
It's amazing how much information is packed into something that we usually just want to clean up as quickly as possible.
I know, right? It's like a CSI episode every time they throw up. But sometimes, those subtle signs are all you need to catch something early on. For example, has Pepper been less interested in her food lately?
Now that you mention it, she has been a little pickier than usual.
See, that in itself can be a sign that something's off. Loss of appetite, especially in a dog who normally inhales their food, that's definitely something you don't want to ignore. Same goes for changes in their behavior. If they're restless, uncomfortable, pacing more than usual, those can all be signs of nausea or abdominal pain.
Wow, so it's like their bodies really do give us all these little hints, but we have to learn how to, listen to them.
Exactly. We're all canine detectives in training here.
Love it. But, it's important to remember that we are not vets.
100%.
We're learning to recognize the signs so that we can get our pups the professional help they might need.
That's the goal. I'll never forget this one time I thought my dog Buddy was just having an off day. Maybe a little tummy trouble. He wasn't his usual bouncy self, and I figured he just needed some rest. Turns out he had a really nasty ear infection. I felt terrible.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sometimes we're wrong, but, it happened. That's why having this information, knowing the signs and when to get help, it's so important.
Absolutely. Better safe than sorry, especially when it comes to our furry family members. So let's say we've gathered all our clues, we've put on our detective hats, and we find ourselves at the vet's office. What happens next? What can we expect when we get there? As much as I love going to the vet for the head scratches and the treats and all that good stuff, the actual appointment itself can be a little nerve-wracking. You're trying to remember every little detail about what your dog's been up to, and meanwhile, they're doing their best impression of a furry tornado on the exam table. It's a lot.
It really is. They save all their energy for chaos in that room.
It's like they know.
Right. But you've hit on something really important.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, right? Knowing what to expect when you go to the vet, that can help calm everyone's nerves. For you and your pup.
Totally. So walk me through it. What actually happens during a typical vet visit for a vomiting dog?
Okay, so first things first, remember all that detective work we talked about?
Yeah.
This is where it really pays off.
Yeah.
The vet's going to want to hear everything you've observed, all the messy details.
So I should be ready to give them the rundown on the frequency, the color, the consistency, the whole shebang.
You got it. Don't hold back on any of the details. Even if it seems small or insignificant, just tell them. Changes in their diet, their environment, their behavior, anything that might be helpful.
Okay, so I need to channel my inner Sherlock Holmes, come prepared with a full report.
Exactly. And then, once they've gotten the full history, it's time for the physical exam.
Okay.
I know some dogs get a little anxious during this part.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really just the vet's way of getting a feel for your dog's overall health, right? So they'll check their temperature, they'll listen to their heart and lungs, feel their abdomen for anything unusual.
So basically making sure all the systems are functioning as they should be.
Exactly.
And is this the part where they do the whole checking the gums thing? because Pepper hates that.
Ah, yes, the infamous gum chick.
She's like, do not touch my mouth.
Right. As much as our pups may dislike it, it can actually tell us a lot. So the vet will check the color and the moisture of their gums to assess things like hydration levels and look for any signs of anemia or jaundice.
Wow, it really is amazing the amount of information that those pink gums hold. Okay,
That's
so
right.
let's say based on like Pepper's history, the physical exam, all of that, the vet suspects something a little more serious is going on. What happens then?
That's when they bring out the big guns, the diagnostic tools.
Okay,
Blood work is often the first step.
makes sense.
It can reveal a ton of information about organ function, potential infections, electrolyte imbalances, even dehydration. It's like taking a peek inside their inner workings.
Oh, wow. So if Pepper had swallowed, like, I don't know, another sock, an x-ray would be the way to go.
Exactly. They might also do a fecal test to rule out parasites, especially since she's still young and, probably eats everything in sight.
Oh, yeah, I'm very familiar with that stage.
And in some cases, they might even suggest something called an endoscopy.
Endoscopy, what is that?
So they basically use a tiny little camera to look inside the stomach and the intestines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it gives them a clear view without having to do major surgery.
Wow. Technology never ceases to amaze. Okay, so once the vet has figured out what's causing the vomiting, what are the treatment options? What can we expect there?
Well, that really depends on the diagnosis. Sometimes supportive care is all that's needed. We're talking fluids to combat dehydration, anti-nausea meds to settle their stomach, maybe a bland diet for a few days.
Okay, so the canine equivalent of, like, chicken soup and crackers.
Exactly. But in other cases, more targeted treatment might be necessary. Antibiotics if it's a bacterial infection, deworming meds for parasites, surgery if there's an obstruction. It really runs the gamut.
It sounds like the big takeaway here is that every case is different, and the treatment's really tailored to the individual dog and their situation.
You got it. And that's why it's so important to work closely with your vet. They are the experts, after all, and they're going to guide you towards the best course of action for your furry friend.
Well said. And speaking of vets, I have to take a moment to just express my eternal gratitude for all the vets out there who dedicate their lives to caring for our furry family members.
Here, here.
Even if it means enduring the occasional, dramatic ear swabbing incident, Pepper still holds a grudge against our vet for that one.
Oh, those dramatic pups. They really know how to work us.
They do. They really do. Well, this has been incredibly informative. We've covered infections, dietary issues, obstructions. I feel like I could write a book. And all the signs to look out for, what to expect at the vet. I'm feeling so much more prepared for the next time Pepper has a, situation.
That's what we like to hear. Knowledge is power.
It really is. A huge thank you to our expert for walking us through this surprisingly fascinating topic. And to all of you listening, we hope you feel empowered with the knowledge you need to navigate those messier moments with your own furry friends. Remember, a little bit of knowledge goes a long way towards keeping your dog happy, healthy, and hopefully vomit-free.